Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? And welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. Thanks for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, we are in the offseason, and the New Orleans Saints are still trying to sign running back Mark Ingram to a contract. Now, we all know that running back Mark Ingram has been with the Saints his whole entire career, and now he is a unrestricted free agent. He can sign with any team that he wants to sign with. And of course, the New Orleans Saints want to keep him in the building. And I think the feeling is mutual when it comes to Mark Ingram. And there are a lot of people who have been talking about if Mark Ingram doesn't sign with the New Orleans Saints, what direction they need to go in. Is there somebody that can pick up the slack in-house, maybe like a Dwayne Washington, or maybe we can have Alvin Kamara pick up that extra load. Or maybe we need to look into the NFL draft. And finally, one of the things that I found very, very funny, we need to sign Le'Veon Bell. Oh, my goodness, man. Look, all of this fantasy football that we playing, I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. For anybody to think that the Saints need to go after Le'Veon Bell, but I'm gonna go ahead and break this down, and let's talk about some of these scenarios that have been coming out of the media as well as from fans. First off, signing Mark Ingram. Now, I think that the Saints need to sign Mark Ingram. I think that Mark Ingram needs to continue his career as a Saint. I think that the New Orleans Saints have some unfinished business, and I feel like anything the Saints have to do to make sure that these pieces stay in place so they can try to make a championship run this upcoming season, they need to make sure that it happens. So signing Mark Ingram should be a top priority. Now, I don't think that they need to jump out the window and just sign him to 4 and 5 years. Look, I'm sorry. I love Mark Ingram, but that's not what's best for the New Orleans Saints. That's not what's best for their future. The New Orleans Saints have to look ahead. You have players like Michael Thomas. His rookie contract is almost up. He's going to want to get paid. Alvin Kamara, he's going to want to get paid. You have Ryan Ramczyk. He wants to get paid. Teron Armstead. I mean, the list goes on and on. Signing Mark Ingram to 4 and 5 years, look, it's not going to happen. I don't feel like that is really what they need to do. What they need to do is to set Mark Ingram up with maybe like a 2-year contract worth about $10 million. 2 years, $10 million, that's $5 million a year. By that time, Mark Ingram will be 30 years old. And if Ingram decides to want to continue his career, he can finish out his career somewhere else. I feel like that's what the Saints need to do. Now, let's focus on the NFL draft. Now, they got some decent running backs in the draft, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. You got players who can contribute to the New Orleans Saints. Running backs like Damian Harris out of Alabama. You got Devin Singletary out of Florida Atlantic. I mean, you got Josh Jacobs out of Alabama, and you also got David Montgomery out of Iowa State. Those are some running backs that can contribute to the team. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like the Saints are going to find what they're looking for in the NFL draft. I feel like Mark Ingram is a good, solid running back. I feel like he is what the Saints need. No, the Saints don't need to go out and get Le'Veon Bell. Can we please stop this? Can we please stop fantasy football playing with the New Orleans Saints? I see people talking about the Saints need to try to get Antonio Brown. Are you kidding me, man? Antonio Brown? Seriously? As talented as Antonio Brown is, I do not want to see him in a New Orleans Saints uniform. That guy is a cancer. I'm just being honest. He's a cancer to a locker room. He's a cancer to the league. Now, I respect what he does on the field, but this guy has the ego the size of Texas. I do not want to see that come into the locker room. Now, we know that sometimes the media can, try to influence the way fans look at players and stuff like that, especially when it comes to free agency and they need to sign with a team. We see this going down in New Orleans when it comes to Anthony Davis. He's public enemy number one. But I got opportunity to see Antonio Brown interview on ESPN. And I got an opportunity to see him on HBO's LeBron James show, The Shop. And nothing about Antonio Brown impresses me, man. He seems like he has that me instead of we mentality, man. And when you got that me mentality, I don't want nothing to do with you, because I feel like what the Saints have is a good mix of locker room guys who love playing for each other, guys who hang out with each other. If you ever follow any of the Saints player on social media, these guys interact with each other, joke around with one another. That's what you want in your locker room. You don't want a guy that's upset because the ball didn't go his way, and all of a sudden he over there tossing Gatorade bottles over, just because he don't get 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't want that on the team. Antonio Brown can go somewhere else where they just happy to have him on the team because he can be an attraction and people will come out to see him and they'll back up the Brink truck and overpay for him. Yeah, let him go somewhere else, because what he shows me trying to lead the Pittsburgh Steelers, that shows he don't care anything about winning. Sometimes players don't care about championships as much as others. I mean, we just got to be honest. And he's one of those guys. Sorry, that's just my honest opinion. But when it comes to Le'Veon Bell, once again, the fantasy football playing that fans do. Oh, man, I would love to see Le'Veon Bell with the Saints. I mean, that would be nice. But at the end of the day, man, we talking about some great players that the New Orleans Saints have. Man, I don't think people understand how good the New Orleans Saints young players are, man. These guys go to other teams, they will be superstars. Marshawn Lattimore will be a superstar. Michael Thomas would be a superstar. I mean, can you imagine Michael Thomas playing for a team like the New York Football Giants? He would be everywhere, man. Talking about commercials, all of that. The only reason why a lot of people aren't talking about Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara as much is because they play in a smaller market in New Orleans, and New Orleans doesn't get that much attention. If you put any of them players, even Marcus Williams, man, you put these players on other teams, these guys will be bona fide superstars. The Saints are going to have to pay these guys, and you have to make sure that you're making the right decision, because when these guys' contract comes up, you want to be able to pay them. I want to see Marshawn Lattimore playing for the Saints for 10 years, Alvin Kamara for 10 years, Michael Thomas, Ryan Ramczyk. I want to see these guys almost becoming lifers for the New Orleans Saints, because they deserve it. And yes, Le'Veon Bell is a great talent, but I don't want to see him in a Saints uniform. Let him go play for the Jets or the Bills or something like that. Let him go play for them. We have good players on this team, and I would like to keep the salary cap at bay, because these guys are going to have to get paid, man. These Saints players are going to have to get paid. So please understand that. But back to Mark Ingram. I think that Mark Ingram needs to get a 2-year, $10 million contract. That's just my opinion. I don't think the Saints need to go to the draft and get another Mark Ingram, because I think a lot of people are discrediting Mark Ingram. A lot of people saying that he is overrated as a free agent. I don't think so, because I've seen Mark Ingram. I've seen Mark Ingram at his lowest, when a lot of people are like, man, why the Saints got this guy, man? He's not producing. We seen Mark Ingram at his lowest, man. And we have seen Mark Ingram transition into a very quality running back in the National Football League. He's definitely, in my opinion, in the top 10 among running backs in the National Football League. But 2 years, $10 million, that's what I give if I was the Saints, and I would not bend or break. Point blank, period, man. Take it or leave it, Mark. We love you, but we got to be smart. But this has been the State of the Saints podcast. Check out the State of the Saints podcast on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Also, previous episodes are available on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.com. Till next time, all I have to say is, who dat?